Window
This
is
looks
on.
muted.
Mine's YouTube channel, but I don't see
No, it's
anything popping up.
All right, hold on. I don't have anything else.
Hear you.
It is not.
So I guess.
Joe, can you see it?
Yeah,
John,
I'm
see it?
trying
Let's
to.
try with the device.
Just a still shot of us.
Last week there.
That's all I see. A still shot.
Okay, but it is actually live, by the way. Yeah, it's from us today.
Right, so yeah.
If you
Oh, Brad's moving.
hit it,
Can you see it?
we're just not talking yet. That's why you can't. Right.
Okay, I guess we're good.
I think Apple devices were an issue last time.
They still are then.
I'm on your YouTube channel, I'm not. Listen, supposed to press a button or something, but I see your old meeting, but I don't see your new meeting. Try it.
For live stream. Yes,
That's
it says
Yeah, we're
it's
fine
live
on mine.
streaming.
Sam, you good on your end? Okay, the time is 8:08 AM. We'll call this meeting to order. Adequate notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by transmitting the meeting notice to the official newspapers, providing a copy of the agenda to the newspapers, and posting a copy of the agenda at Borough Hall and on the website. Would you please rise for the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dan, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bernhardt? Here. Councilmember Doherty? Council President Lee Tag?
Yes, here.
Councilmember O'Brien?
Here.
Councilmember Updike?
Here.
Councilmember Warner?
Okay, we're going to move into our public comment portion of our meeting. If anyone from the public would like to address the governing body this morning, please just state your name for the record.
No, good time to do that?
Sure.
All right, well, good morning, I'm Brendan Bowers, I'm the president of Santico Inc. We're a garbage company based up in Harmony, which is right outside of Phillipsburg. So just a quick background about Santico, we've been in business for 52 years, we're a family owned and operated company, I'm the second generation owner. We have about 22,000 customers at the moment throughout Warren, Hunterdon, Sussex, and Morris County. We have 45 employees, 40 trucks, give or take. We currently have routes in Alexandria and Holland Township, right to the border of Frenchtown on 513 and 519. So this is just sort of a logical next step for us. In case you're not familiar with our name, we're more to the north of Frenchtown, but not too far to the north. I'm here today to answer any questions that you might have about the upcoming contract and our bid for that contract. I brought some sample cards to help visualize what the new equipment would look like. There's two different sizes. So these are 95s, which is what the bid spec calls for. One of each per resident. This is a 65, it's a little bit smaller. I only brought it as an option. Recent past experience, we've deployed these carts to Bloomsbury, Lebanon Borough, and Alamucci. And there was a fair amount of pushback from some of the residents, particularly in the smaller houses or the townhouses or that type of stuff. For the 95s, they didn't have a place to store them, they wouldn't fit in the garage. So we made 65s an option, and they were pretty popular. I mean, it's still the minority, but I wanted to give you guys the same option. It's not something that I'm pushing. I don't really mind either way. But those are the two different sizes. So there would be also, I didn't bring the garbage cart. Green garbage, we recycling, it is labeled on the top. Any questions about Sanico?
I have one question, if for the 65s, because I know some of our members of our senior community like the smaller carts. I'm not sure how if you're gonna, upon winning the bid or whatever, the deployment of the large carts is probably across the board, right? But could we leave some 65s with our DPW to swap them out if we have residents that have mobility
That'd
issues?
be a great way to do it, yeah.
Okay,
We'd definitely do that.
okay, because we had to do that with our
The
previous
Dutch
hauler.
will come back and pick up the 95s that they've
Okay,
swapped out.
great,
Yeah, we do track these are all serialized, we do track where the carts are by address. So as long as the DPW would help us with that, just writing down when they do the swap, what the new number is,
okay,
that would work great.
okay.
Yeah.
Other questions? from-
You took my question about the smaller carts, because it is a question that does come up with the senior, with seniors, because the size of the larger cart is really tough for them to manage. I think that's all that I have right now.
What time would the typical pickup be on the weekly?
I think the bid spec, I believe, called for 7 AM.
Yeah,
We'd be here at 7 AM and start working until it was done. So. There's a lot to talk about and think about regarding the transition. I don't know if we should jump into that now or if that's. Jumping the
Yeah,
gun.
you haven't.
Yeah,
we
gotta wait till the
haven't voted,
resolution, yeah.
You should wait
that's
until the
premature,
resolution,
right?
and
Yeah.
then before you vote on it, you know, part of your debate could be asking him questions
Okay.
for discussion.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional public comments? Not hearing any, we'll move to consideration of resolutions. Our first resolution before the governing body is resolution 2025-33, authorizing a tree removal and sidewalk repair permit. Is there a motion for adoption of that resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Council President Leaptag with a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Bernhardt with a second. Any questions or comments on this? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bernhardt? Yes. Council President Lee Tag?
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Updike?
Yes.
Our next item of business is resolution 2025-34, awarding a contract for solid waste and recyclable collection.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right,
What I would suggest there is, your qualified purchasing agent is here. He's done a considerable amount of work in reviewing the bids, interviewing the low bidder at this point, and has made a recommendation to you. So my suggestion is ask Mr. Diorio to go over the bid with you, why this is recommended, and address questions you may have along with the representative of Seneca.
sure.
Mayor,
Yes, thank you.
council members, thank you. I reviewed the contract submission, the bid submission from Sanico. They meet all the qualifications as permitted and required by the local public contracts law. They are the lowest bidder, significantly lower. Not to the point of concern, but it was very competitive pricing. Their bid was $624,804 for a 5-year bid. The borough gave each bidder the option to do a 1, a 3, and a 5-year contract. In each case, Seneca was the lowest in each of the 3 options. However, because the bid was so competitive and because you want stability when planning your budget, I would recommend a 5-year contract just to make sure that financially you can prepare for your sanitation costs. I think because of the volatility of sanitation, generally speaking, you want to lock in a good price before things get kind of difficult in the future. Other than that, I had a great conversation with Brendan. The tipping fees for the regular townwide pickup is exclusive. So you will be paying tipping fees separate from what you're paying Seneca. However, when it comes to your containers that you'll house at the DPW and the ones that you have at the 20 locations around town, as requested by the bid, those costs will be included. So tipping fees will be included. When talking to Brendan, I guess logistically it makes more sense because when you're picking up smaller quantities of garbage, those smaller quantities at your 20 locations and at your public works may be commingled with other towns, so it becomes impossible to sort of separate those two. And financially speaking, it doesn't make sense for you to have a big truck to pick up a little garbage. So those costs will be included, but your townwide will be excluded, so you'll get a separate bill for those costs.
Thank you for that
If you have any
overview.
questions?
Are there questions, council?
Well, I do have a couple of questions just as a follow-up. Your contract doesn't expires with your current hauler in the middle of February 12th or so. Your collection should be on the Friday, and your collection should be alternating. One collection, solid waste and recyclable, the next week just solid waste, and then following solid waste and recyclable. So the containers are here. The bid spec did allow the borough to pick and choose whether it be 95 or smaller containers. So that's built into the specifications. The specifications also had a provision that a certain number of containers be kept in storage at DPW for the very reasons that you were discussing before. There's going to be a transition, as was said, between the current hauler and the new hauler if you award this contract. It is a month period, but all the containers may not be available to start the collection. So there will be a transition period where a portion of the town will have both containers in the right sizes, and a portion may not have all of the containers. And that's something you should speak with the Sanico representative, how that transition is going to work through, because there's going to be a certain amount of disruption. There's just no way that you can avoid that, but obviously you're going to try to minimize that. And I understand, not from Brendan, but from Joe, that they're willing to work through that process. So those things. So when the phone calls start coming in, you know what the issues are.
Well, Mayor, if you will, I spoke with our municipal rep at Republic with, talking about the fact that we had this competitive bid before us. She was fully aware, and dependent on what we do today, they know that Sanico is the lowest bidder. And if a transition is required, they're willing to work with us on that transition to minimize the inconveniences to the residents. And have a card for Brandon to talk about, if this transition happens, how we connect Republic and Sanico together to minimize those disruptions. And then we also do a lot of public messaging.
So the
around this.
messaging is going to be key with our residents. But my biggest concern, Brendan, would be having residential homes in the borough without cans because of the close proximity of residents, because we have rodents living along the river. If people put bare bags out, it's likely they'll get torn up by the different, raccoons and other things out around this area, rats, etc.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Brandon, just to not, if you have the smaller cans available, do you have some of those to cover the shortage of the larger cans? Just to have something in place for residents that could be swapped out?
We do, that might be the solution.
Why don't you come on up and
If enough,
so we can.
I
if
didn't know
enough
if it was
residents,
appropriate to have it.
elect the
No,
65.
that's good, right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, geez, he's very strict.
Electing you to the council.
Yeah. Oh,
I was just asking you to come a little closer. I apologize. I wasn't as clear.
Yeah, quick answer to that question, yeah, between the two, we would be able to cover everybody. I mean, we keep a large number of carts on hand just as a working inventory at all times for new customers and for swap outs when carts break. But to take on a new township or a new homeowners association, generally we have to order those carts, which you're looking at our inventory of just 95s, we're about 25 carts short
Oh,
of
okay.
being able to fulfill the whole
Oh,
township.
that's-
But
That's
with
more
my-
comforting to me.
For both cards?
For just the large carts,
For both recycling and solid waste?
correct, yeah. So-
Sadly, you're inheriting the
Whoa.
day that it would be recycling at the same time, because when we
Is that
looked at
first
the
Friday?
calendar,
Yeah.
it would be, the 14th would be a dual pickup of recycling and solid waste, because in looking at the calendar, we thought if you were short, it could be, if it was just the one versus the other, it might be easier, but But,
I-
well, if it's only 25, I think there's a way that we can work around it. I was more concerned if it was a higher number.
No, it's,
Right.
we have enough to fulfill almost the whole town with the 95s, and if we start putting out 65s. If we can identify those that might want them ahead of time, again, it's another step in the logistics.
Oh, good, yeah, good
That
point.
would be, then that would be helpful, or we could just, the last 25 houses get 65s. And then when the 95s come in, we can just make the DPW to swap them out.
Yeah,
Okay.
So. If that's an option, then that alleviates that concern, at least for me.
are you prepared to do a swap on the 7th?
What does that mean? What do you mean?
The 7th is the final day of Republic pickup and they may,
To start delivering the.
Yeah.
correct,
That would be. The best time to do it would be on the service day. See, one thing that I would be concerned about, if I was you guys, or if I lived here, would be having 4 of those things to contend with in my house for a week or 2. In other words, Santa could start delivering them next week, right? So we could just get them out there gradually, but then it creates this double cart.
Well, I guess my question more clearly is if Sanico picks up on the 7th, would you be able to deliver them on the 8th or the 9th? So that the following week's trash is not sitting outside of a cart?
If Republic picks up on the 7th,
Yeah.
their last pickup
Mhm.
is a Friday, so, and we could be delivering that Monday,
Okay,
not the 8th or the 9th, but the 10th.
got it.
And then we would have, it would take us, I would estimate 3 days to get all the carts delivered. Maybe quicker if we could find a place in town to stage roll-off containers that we would fill them with our carts, and that way we're not running back and forth as many times.
So like the DPW?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, with its
Okay.
big yard, if there's plenty of room there,
Yeah,
but yeah, if there is, then that would be ideal.
Okay.
That would save us some time.
But you would drop off the rolls, but you would actually deliver them to the household, so right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna deliver them door to door.
okay,
If we can stage in the DPW yard, that would help us out, make it go quicker and smoother. If Republic would agree to pick theirs up on the 7th after they empty them, which they would want to do that. They don't want to have their cart guy pick up parts with garbage in it. It's so that's in their best interest. That's how I envision it going smoothest.
Okay.
Republic would have to agree to do that. And we would have all of our parts in place, if not 95s and 65s as a backup
perfect,
by the next Friday.
perfect,
There
okay,
may be a few days where the residents are cartless, but it's not a service day. They just have to keep their bags in the garage or something until the new cart shows up.
Just one thing, the council president mentioned that the other bidders were aware of the bids. And that's because the bids are open publicly. All the bidders were here and heard when the bids were read. So it's not that there's any inside information, it's just simply that the bids were read publicly. And the bidders were present and understood what the bids were, and they can figure out where they stand in the pecking orders, whether they're first, second, or in this case, you had 3 bids. Sanico, Republic, and Casella.
and each had representatives present. So,
And you're awarding, if you decide to do this, 2 options. There's 3 options. It's a 5-year contract. There's 3 options. One is for the 20 or so containers throughout the town for recycling and collection. And that, as Joe said, it includes disposal fees. The roll-off containers at DPW include disposal fees. And then the option for the pickup, the home pickup, that's exclusive of disposal fees. So that would be a separate bill. And you'd have, the CFO would have to work out whether you were gonna reimburse Sanico or pay directly to the transfer station, but that's something that can be worked out, aside from this.
and also, just so people understand what that means, we're paying based on what we pick up.
Correct, and that's the difference. Your specs require a dedicated truck for Frenchtown, so that there's no commingling of Kingwood or Alexander or Bloomsbury waste, that it is a dedicated truck, and they have to submit certifications that it is a dedicated truck for the town. So when you pay the disposal fees, you should be paying for your garbage, not any other towns, as opposed to the other two where it's logistically not possible to send in a truck to pick up the town-wide cans. The roll-offs are a little bit different because what you send in a truck, you've got, because there's different size trucks. Not all the roll-offs are, they're not roll-offs, they're
Dumpsters.
dumpsters.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So again, that makes it,
Easier to,
well, difficult to keep the garbage segregated.
but it's
You're not-
also that it's only picked up when they're full, correct?
Correct.
Like, so that you know you're picking up a certain amount of trash versus a half a dumpster.
I think they're picked up on a weekly schedule.
Oh,
So it's whether they're full, half full, or we
Okay.
still have the truck here, but it's the points we made a couple of times to send an empty truck to get 4 containers. When a truck can usually fit about 50 containers before it fills up and goes to the dump. Just to get the 4 and go all the way to the dump would be so cost prohibitive.
right.
That it only makes sense that they're gonna get those 4 and then go on to the next 4 and the next and the next and the next. And therefore, I can't really pull out your exact tonnage to bill you or to have the transportation station bill you for the disposal. I can estimate it, and I will, when we report back to the town, what we pick up in terms of tons.
Mhm.
It'll be primarily the dedicated truck that does all the residents. And it'll also do the 20 liter cans on that day. That will be pure dedicated tons. But we'll still estimate the weight, because we know what the weights are of the
Right.
dumpsters. And the other, when we're doing the litter twice a week, so you'll still get that data, but it's not really accurate enough to bill you based off of it. So it's just built into our bid.
And just to interject, Republic bid the same way.
Right.
So it's not a specific practice of Sanico, it's a common practice with sanitation.
And will Frenchtown have a dedicated representative at Sanico that our clerk can correspond with if there's issues with a pickup with a homeowner?
Absolutely, and we have a
Okay.
sales department, his name will be Les, and also myself.
Okay,
And so are you the operations side?
I'm the
Or
everything.
you're the everything? Well, I guess just because we need an operations person too, because at times if there's a resident that doesn't get pickup and they call us, we usually would like to call and say, hey, can you have a truck circle back and get that?
Absolutely, I can give you the number to our operations manager, or we
Mhm.
also have a pretty good pipeline where you just call the office
Mhm.
and speak with the office manager.
Okay.
She handles those types of requests.
What are the days of pickup in Alexandria and Hopewell and Holland?
Tuesday.
Oh,
Well,
Tuesday.
The route that comes this far south is Tuesday.
Okay.
We have routes throughout Alexandria and Holland, actually 5 days a week, but
Okay.
And the cost of tipping fees and fluctuation in the last several years, have you seen the price for where you're disposing of and the tipping fees change? I mean, of course it fluctuates.
it goes
but-
up 5 to 10% a year. I've
Okay.
seen in the last 5 years, which has been an acceleration to the years prior. So whether it will slow back down again, I'm not sure, but
Okay, there hasn't been a year where all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this went up 20% or something. You know what I mean? Where there's been, where all of a sudden we're 2 years into this contract and out of your reach, all of a sudden the tipping fees have now.
welcome to my world.
Yeah.
No, that's what I mean, yeah.
It's a risk, yeah, it's large, that bill won't be cheap, we generally estimate about 30% to 35% of our cost is disposal. And the Hunter County Transfer Station, which is where we would direct the waste, they've actually kept their rates more consistent than the other disposal stations we use, excuse me. They were just, I think they were just sold to Waste Management. So I'm not sure what that, if that bodes ill.
Still in process. Waste Management is still the operator.
Okay, they haven't assumed control of it,
Waste Management is still the operator underneath the lease agreement.
okay.
Good. So hopefully it's status quo.
Well, it's the sales in process. It's
Oh.
being reviewed by the state of New Jersey.
So, yeah, to answer your question, they go up. I haven't seen anything drastic that would just completely upend your budget. But they haven't been going up lately.
Okay,
But nowhere near the risks of the China, like, we had that issue with the China sword and not being able to dispose of recycling and all of that, right? That's backed off.
I see no major disruptions in the recycling market, so. And again, the Hunterdon County Transportation's been pretty consistent with their rates for recycling, even throughout that. So it's hard for me to predict. It's a risk that I feel every day because Waste Management could, when they finally get control of it, they could increase the rates. Unless the county has a mechanism to keep that under control. We have other options. If something crazy happens at the transfer station, we could direct the waste elsewhere.
Mhm.
But it's just hard to predict. I don't want to scare you. It's been, like I said, just kind of a steady
Even,
increase over the last 5 years. But it's, and I don't foresee anything majorly disruptive happening in our neck of the woods in the next 5. I didn't see China sword happening either,
Oh,
so,
good. Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
All right, anything else the council wants to discuss on this? If not, we have a roll call in a second, or I mean, a motion in a second, so we'll do the roll call.
Councilmember Bernhardt,
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
yes,
Councilmember Updike.
Yes.
Okay, with that, just one other thing, it's not on the agenda we wanted to talk about. We have our librarian's gonna be out for an extended period of time. And the library commission met, last week, along with Councilman Bernhardt, and we would like to, put a temporary librarian in place. At the same rate of pay as our existing librarian. They have a candidate they identified that would be available to cover the interim period. We would need to extend a formal, letter and have the pre-employment physical process happen. So from a budgetary standpoint, it's a neutral move because the leave of absence is unpaid. Do you want to talk about the candidate a little bit?
Yeah, her name is Jackie Campbell. She moved to Frenchtown in July with her husband. She just got her PhD from Princeton in literature.
English or literature, right?
between the First and Second World War, like something very specific. But she's been volunteering at the library since she moved here. So she's been well aware of, you know, how it runs, and she's also already in with many of the board members of the library that have been, you know, helping there and stuff. So she came to the meeting last week and she was really great. She was really excited about stepping in for Kelly, and, you know, she'll continue on volunteering after Kelly returns, but she seems really overqualified and,
Yeah.
you know, like a good,
We're lucky.
yeah, we are lucky.
So if everyone's okay, I'll get a letter out via Sam today. Extending a conditional offer with the pre-employment physical requirement, and then we could just have the resolution for the next meeting, just catch up with it.
But it is the consensus to make that offer, or allow the mayor to make that conditional offer.
yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. And she's ready to open the library today. If we want her to.
we
Like,
just need a
she's just
quick
ready.
sign off. Yeah, the library is operational again now too. All the work has been finished downstairs, so. We'll get that out today. Hopefully get that cleared right away.
And so when we open the library again, can somebody take some photographs and we put that announcement on our Facebook page?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she
That would be
said
good
that
too.
she can update the Facebook page and the telephone, like she was really on it. She knew everything that had to happen to reopen it and get the
Oh, okay.
word out.
Okay,
So,
And if she shares that link with me, I can post it on ours. It's so they have their separate library page. Is that what they do?
on Facebook, I don't know.
Okay.
think they do.
Well, they correspond with the county library too, because the county library has a notification that Frenchtown Library is closed, so I think
Okay.
it's a coordination of the.
Understood.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to lift it up on our Frenchtown Borough page so that people know that this is happening. So, okay,
All right,
thank you.
with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Yeah, can I borrow your pen? I'll put it in the side.